Good evening. I'd like to welcome our wonderful community and thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Dr. Carolyn Milana, and I'm the chair of the Department of Pediatrics at Stony Brook Children's Hospital. What you may not know is that we're one of only 250 or so children's hospitals in the country, and we're the first and still the only one in Suffolk County. And that means that you, the members of our community, have something not everyone in the country has: access to very specialized pediatric care that's always close to home. So we're here for a few very special reasons: to commemorate our 10th anniversary as a children's hospital and 40 years of caring for kids, to celebrate the anniversary of the opening of our brand new state-of-the-art all private room children's hospital on the Stony Brook campus, and to thank you for being a part of the community and for the many ways you've supported us. Perhaps by choosing us for your medical care, by volunteering here, by making donations, or by helping us raise funds. It's because of your ongoing support that we can look forward to continuing to serve the needs for many decades to come. To show our gratitude, we have two exciting activities for you. The first, a brief video tour of our new facility. For those who haven't visited the new Stony Brook Children's Hospital or been a patient, here's your chance to come inside our doors. You'll discover how the Children's Hospital Different comes to life here, with a nod to our Long Island heritage and with every element carefully planned to promote healing and support every family's well-being. Then we'll pop over to the Long Island Aquarium, who provides live feeds from their facility to ours 24/7, and some of the educational programming we bring to children while they're in our hospital. Today, they're treating us all to an exciting sea lion show, followed by a Q&A session with one of their trainers. So turn down the lights and turn up the volume. Our tour starts right now.
Welcome to our special occasion, because 10 years as a kids hospital deserves a celebration. So we invite you now inside our doors to tour our lobby and visit our floors. We'll start right here with some ultra cool features like fish and turtles and other crazy sea creatures. There are playrooms here where kids can have fun and a classroom where the learning gets done. Our patient rooms are state-of-the-art with space for your family so you're never apart. A Ronald McDonald family room gives visitors a place to be if they need a snack or a shower or to do some laundry. But there's much more than amenities, just to be clear. There's very important medicine going on here. 180 peds specialists plus hundreds more staff, including nurses and technicians, and stuff to make you laugh. When our doctors and support staff do their thing, it's with a commitment to ouchless medicine. Plus, we're an academic medical center, and what that means is research and clinical trials to help children and teens. In fact, when other hospitals have cases they can't treat, they send them to us where the care can't be beat. Whenever a child is suddenly hurt or sick, our Children's Only ED can treat them quick. And no matter where you live, in Suffolk's villages or towns, a Stony Brook children's doctor is always around. That's the end of our tour. We hope you learned a lot. So when you need a kids hospital, X marks the spot.
Talk about a whirlwind tour. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, you can always learn more about our children's hospital by visiting stonybrookchildrens.org. Now, let's start the Sea Lion Show.
Hi there, Stony Brook Children's Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Long Island Aquarium during Bunker's training session. And this here is Bunker.
Good. Smile. Good. Good.
Bunker here is 19 years old and weighs in at about 200 pounds. She's an adult female California sea lion. She's one of our superstars here in the aquarium, and she performs daily in a variety of our shows. Now, Bunker, again, is a sea lion, so you can find her along the western coast of the United States. as far north as British Columbia and Canada, and as far south as the Baja Peninsula down in Mexico. You can tell her apart from her cousin, the true seal, because she has very long and powerful front flippers, which she was using to blow you a kiss before. Now, true seals have shorter front flippers. Bunker uses her front flippers to pull her body through the water when she swims, just like we would use our arms. Now, sea lions like Bunker can reach speeds of up to 25 miles per hour. Look at the wake she leaves behind her. Another difference that you can see is found in their rear flippers. Now, sea lions like Bunker have a rotatable hip bone, so they can tuck those rear flippers up and underneath their bodies, able to walk around on all four of their front flippers. That's right, Bunker, those sure are the flippers we're talking about. Now, her cousin, the true seal, does not have that rotatable hip bone, and they definitely would not be able to tap the rear flipper out behind them. This is what Bunker thinks her cousin looks like when they're out on land. Pretty silly impression, Bunker. She is quite the comedian. Another difference you can tell is found in the sounds that they make. Now, her cousin makes a snoring sound. Bunker is just showing you another one of the sounds that she makes. She sure does have a beautiful voice. I think she's definitely ready to join us on American Idol. If you look at Bunker's mouth right now, you'll also see she has a mouthful of 36 conical shaped teeth, and all of them are brown. That's pretty neat because Bunker, being a sea lion, has a special bacteria that lives inside her mouth. Now, this bacteria increases as she gets older, and it's what replaces her having tooth enamel, because sea lions like Bunker actually don't have tooth enamel, where a true seal would have white teeth just like we do, and they have that tooth enamel. Right now, Jenna is brushing Bunker's teeth. What she's doing is just stimulating the blood flow to her gums. Kind of like how every day we brush our teeth to make sure that we have perfect health. We always want to make sure Bunker is staying very, very healthy. So much so that she sees her veterinarian at least once per week. That's far more often than we would ever see our human doctors. That's right, Bunker, that is very impressive. Now, we're able to look over Bunker's body, brush her teeth, and even administer a simple saline solution eye drop. This makes sure that we keep her eyes nice and healthy as well. It's the same thing that you would put in your eyes if you had contact lenses. You can see Bunker working on this right now. She definitely is a pro at these husbandry behaviors. One of the similarities that you can find between true seals and sea lions is in their very long whisker tips. Now, Bunker has very long and sensitive whisker tips, which are known as vibrissae. These vibrissae are about 10 times more sensitive than even your fingertips, and much more sensitive than even your own dog or cat's whisker tips would be. Now, she can use these very long and sensitive whisker tips to sense differences in water current changes out there in nature. Or, in a facility, she can do something that's really cool, and that's balance a ball on her nose, much like how you would see a Harlem Globetrotter. Wow, Bunker, that's pretty awesome. She's even able to dribble that ball, sensing every movement with her whiskers. Great job, Bunker. She was also using her very long and flexible neck. This helped to keep that ball up on her nose as well. Now, out in nature, she would use that long and flexible neck to make sharp turns. It would help aid her in catching very fast-moving prey or to avoid her predators. Wow, her head just completely disappeared. Now, Bunker's eating a lot of different fish. What you see her primarily eating right now are 3 different types. She's eating a large fatty fish called herring, kind of like if we eat a cheeseburger. She's eating a small lean fish called capelin, sort of like when we eat chicken. And that's a picture of a capelin right there. And then Bunker also loves squid, which is really high in water content. That's great news for Bunker because sea lions don't actually drink any of the water that they live in. They actually get all of their water content from the fish that they eat. And she's eating about 20 to 25 pounds of fish every single day. So you see her eating about 4 pounds right now. very impressive, Bunker. That is why she is truly one of our superstars. As you just saw her balance her entire 200-pound weight on her 2 front flippers alone. But unfortunately, that's going to wrap up most of Bunker's session. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi everyone, my name is Nicole and I hope you really enjoyed our show. I'm a sea lion trainer at the Long Island Aquarium too, and tonight I'm here to answer all of the questions that you might have sent in when you registered. And I also want to let you know that you're able to submit some more questions that you might have during this event. You can do that using the Q&A feature in Zoom. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a Q&A. You're going to simply click on this and a window will open up on the side of your screen. Towards the bottom, you're going to see an area that you can type into. You can place your questions here and then press enter. The questions will not be seen by the attendees, and I'm going to do my best to answer all of them after I answer the ones that are sent in. Let's get started. So the first question I have is, can sea lions live in below freezing conditions? That's a great question. So sea lions prefer warmer temperatures. So typically their water at the Long Island Aquarium, we keep between 40 degrees and 70 degrees. And we don't want to get it any colder than that. You might be asking yourselves, how do they stay warm inside a Long Island winter, right? It gets pretty chilly here. Well, they're able to do this because we actually spoil them a little bit. So they have a heated floor inside an area that they like to lay in, as well as a heater above it. So from now, they're able to stay nice and warm. And then they're also able to sit on top of each other, which is another way that they're able to stay nice and warm. Sorry about that. So this is some way that they can stay. And then they also have something known as blubber. So just like we put on lots and lots of coats and layers so that we can stay nice and warm, sea lions put on layers of fat called blubber. And that's how they stay warm. Somebody also wanted to know, what climate do sea lions prefer? It's another great question. So like I was saying, they like it a little bit warm. I wouldn't say that they're a huge fan of super hot temperatures, but our fall and spring is perfect for our sea lions. Sean, age 4, just asked, what does a sea lion eat? Great question, Sean. So sea lions are known as piscivorous animals. That means that they're fish eating. Our sea lions at the Long Island Aquarium typically eat 3 different types of fish. They eat capelin, which is a small lean fish like chicken, herring, a large fatty fish, kind of like a cheeseburger, and squid, which is just really high in water content. We also had a question about what and how many times the sea lions eat. That's another great question. Our sea lions usually have 3 to 4 different feeds a day, and we're able to vary this. We typically will feed 1 time in the morning when our veterinarian is there. That way they can look over all of their husbandry, which are just simply their medical behaviors. And the remaining sessions, we're going to have lots of fun doing shows and other things. But those husbandry behaviors are just as fun as the shows for our sea lions. What is a sea lion's favorite treat? That's another great question. That depends on the sea lion. So Java, who's our big male sea lion, would tell you that his favorite treat, hands down, are ice cubes. He cannot get enough of ice cubes. He loves to slurp them down. But Bunker, our adult female, who you just watched the show with, she loves Jell-O. So just like you get Jell-O, we also give Bunker Jell-O. Her Jell-O, however, does not have any flavoring in it. So it just simply tastes like water. But we like to make it fun colors, and she really enjoys to play with it. We had 2 people ask us, do sea lions like sushi? Well, I wouldn't say that they like the rice portion of the sushi, but you might think that they'd be a sashimi fan because they do love to have that raw fish. Are there sea lions in the seas around Long Island? Now, this is a really popular question that we receive all of the time. Now, sea lions are actually only found along the western coast of the United States. You can find them as far north as British Columbia and Canada, and as far south as the Baja Peninsula down in Mexico. On our coast, the East Coast, we don't ever see any sea lions, but instead we have lots of seals. So if you're out and about at this time by the beaches, you might see some harbor seals or gray seals that are found along our coastline. And we'll typically see these guys the most during our cooler months like winter, because when it gets too warm, the seal population travels even further north up towards the Arctic.
What is a sea lion's natural predator? Well, sea lions can be preyed upon things by like sharks or orcas, but one of the biggest predators that they face are humans, and that's due to pollution. So make sure that you're doing your part by always trying to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we on Long Island do this every day. Anytime we go to the grocery store, we always bring our reusable bags, right? And that's one of the ways that we can help reduce some of the plastic that could wind up in our oceans. And it could be very dangerous for an animal like a sea lion who love to play with different objects. How are sea lions different from the seals that we see locally in our waters? Well, that's a great one. So we pointed out some of these differences during that show. One of them is their ears. So if you look at a sea lion, they have these external ear flaps. They almost look like little pieces of pasta on the side of their head. And that's one of the ways that you can tell them apart. These are called pinnae. Now, a true seal doesn't have any of those pinnae. They just have a little opening behind each one of their eyes. Another way is by their front flippers. So sea lions have those large and powerful front flippers, just like you saw Bunker having. She even lifted her body weight on them, right? So seals, on the other hand, have little short front flippers, and they use theirs to steer, where a sea lion will swim just like we would, using their large front powerful flippers to pull their body through the water. So that's one of the ways that you can tell them apart. And the biggest and easiest way is by their rear flippers. So sea lions have something called a rotatable hip bone, and that means that they tuck their rear flippers up and underneath their bodies. They can walk around on all fours, kind of like how a dog would. Whereas a seal does not have that ability. So they just kind of scooch around on their bellies, and they look a little silly. How cold do they need the water to be? So we like to keep our water consistent with what their natural range would be. So about 40 degrees to up to 70 degrees. I don't like to let it get any warmer or any cooler than that because I want to make sure that our animals are very comfortable and enjoying themselves. And if at any point in time they feel a little too chilly, they can always hop in that water and they'll do something called thermoregulate. And that will help them get nice and warm. And they'll do the opposite inside the summer. So if it's really hot outside and that pool's a nice cool 70 degrees, that'll help them cool down and they can thermoregulate their bodies that way. How do you know if it's a boy or a girl sea lion? Well, luckily with sea lions, this is really easy and you can tell just by looking at them. So I'm going to tell you how to be a sea lion expert in that way. Male sea lions, which are called bulls, actually can weigh up to over 800 pounds. So they're huge, right? They're very, very big. A female only weighs about 200 pounds. And another difference is that male sea lions have something called a sagittal crest. All that means is that they get a big bump on their forehead. So that's another way that you can tell them apart. But the biggest and easiest way is by their size. So if you see a really, really large one and a smaller one, chances are that big one is a male and the smaller one is a female. Do they come in different colors? They come in all kinds of shades of brown. So we have always learned colloquially, so kind of anecdotally in a not scientific way, that male sea lions tend to be a little darker in color than females. So usually male sea lions are a little darker. Females, when they haul out, which just means that when they lay out on land and they're not in the water, they get to be a lovely blonde shade. So very, very pretty. Is it easier to train a dog, a cat, or a sea lion? This is a question from Sophia and Sebastian. I think that's going to depend on the trainer. So I can tell you personally, I think it's easiest to train a sea lion and most difficult to train a cat. And I just think it's that because it's a lot harder to stop your dog when you're rubbing on them or anything like that, but it's a little easier to stop with your sea lion. How long does it take to train a sea lion? That depends on what the behavior is. So whenever we're working with our sea lions, we call them behaviors. They're not tricks. All they are just natural variations of things that our animals would do out there in nature. So it could depend on what the behavior is. If you want them to do something like a whisper where they open and close their mouth, that could take up to 2 months, so not very long, but doing something that takes a long time, like a medical behavior, such as training them to voluntarily allow us to take blood from them, can take several years. How many muscles are in their flippers? This question stumped me. I actually don't know the answer, and I'm going to have to look that one up for you. I can tell you, however, that their front flippers are pretty much filled with cartilage and bone. And if you were to look at their front flippers, It's the way that you can tell that their closest land relative is actually a bear, and that's based on their skeletal structure. How long can a sea lion live? Well, sea lions can live in nature about 10 to 15 years, but out in a facility like ours where they get lots of care, they can have their lifespan doubled. So they can live to be into their early 30s inside a human care facility. Are there more girl or boy sea lions? That's another one that stumped me. I actually don't know what that answer would be, and we'd have to do a lot of research out there in nature. But I can tell you at the aquarium here, we have more females. So we have 3 female sea lions at the Long Island Aquarium and 1 male. How long are sea lions pregnant for? What a great question. So sea lions can be pregnant for 11 months, and that's because they go through something called delayed implantation. So that just means that they'll be pregnant and then they'll wait to deliver until conditions are better. So they can hold on to that for a little bit longer, which is why it'll go up to 11 months. How much do sea lions weigh? So like I mentioned before, the males can weigh up to and even over 800 pounds, whereas a female will weigh about 200 to 250 pounds. So a lot smaller in size. Why do they clap? That's just a really fun trained behavior that we thought was really fun. But they would do a variation of this out there in nature to help pull their body through the water, right? So as they're swimming, they're going to use those powerful front flippers to pull their body in that same kind of way. How fast can a sea lion swim? They can swim pretty fast. They can swim about 25 miles per hour at top speeds. That's really, really quick, much faster than I could even run. Do sea lions behave the same in the winter as they do in the summer in terms of their swimming, training, eating, etc.? Good question. So I would say they definitely change, and a lot of that's based on their motivation. And that's because in the summer season, it's really hot, right? They're not as motivated to move around and do all those high energy behaviors because, again, they're trying to shed all of that extra blubber layer that they have because they're nice and full. So they're going to be a little lazier. They're not going to necessarily swim as much. They might not be as into training. It's also their breeding season, so they have other things on their mind. But during the winter, they're going to be a lot more motivated. They want to put on those blubber layers and get ready for that winter season. Do sea lions prefer the winter or the summer on Long Island? I like to think that they prefer the fall and the spring. So they kind of like those medium range temperatures. That's a little bit more up their alley. Are some sea lions easier to train than others? Yes. And that's also going to be dependent on the trainer. So sometimes we, just like you, when you go to school, there's certain subjects that you really love or are interested in, and you might have a teacher who's really awesome and gets you excited about that. And I like to think that that's the same way with our sea lions. So they see different trainers, just like you see different teachers for different things. And there's some sea lions that we might be able to communicate with a little easier. But just because I might communicate with them a little easier doesn't mean that my staff member might. They actually might have a better relationship with a different animal than I do. So it always depends on the animal and the person. What is my favorite example of how smart sea lions are? Another great question. Our sea lions actually do research. So we work with St. Francis College, and they do some research with our sea lions. One of the studies that they're involved with is to see if they can tell the difference between a 2-dimensional and a 3-dimensional object. So all that means is, can they tell what a picture of a ball looks like versus an actual ball? We've been able to determine that they sure can. And from there, we were able to see how long can they remember this? And they're doing pretty awesome with it. And that's probably one of the most exciting things that we've got to see, and some of the other research that we've gotten to do. What age do our sea lions start performing? Well, that's going to be also based on the animal. So our youngest sea lion, Lucy, is only 2 years old, and she arrived with us a little over a year ago at the Long Island Aquarium. And she immediately started into our training program. And right now you can see her doing full shows. She usually helps assist the older animals. She doesn't just do it by herself yet. In another year or so, Lucy will probably be doing the whole show all on her own. She just needs to learn a couple other extra behaviors first. But until then, she always gets to do little segments and little parts of our show. We like to get them started early, make sure that they're comfortable, and get them used to all the different sounds and things that they might see and hear, everything that they might see as they grow up inside our habitat. How many young can a sea lion carry when they're pregnant? Great question. So most sea lions give birth to a single pup. But in facilities, we have observed sea lions having twins, but it's definitely much more common to see them give birth to one pup. What's a baby sea lion called? They're called a pup. So a big male sea lion is called a bull, and then they would live with a harem of females. So they have a group of females. And then from there, when they have a baby, that baby is a pup. What are newborn sea lions like in size? They're very small, right? So they only weigh a little under 20 pounds, and they're pretty small in size as well. So think about like a small dog. From there, their body is covered in fur because they're a mammal just like we are. So that means that they breathe air. And with that fur, they go through something called molt. So sometimes you might notice when you're petting your dog or cat, some of their hair comes off. Well, sea lions will have a big molt where a lot of their hair will come off as new hair is grown in. So they're never completely bald or anything like that. There's always new hair growing in, but they'll have a bunch of that hair come out. So they'll go through that twice when they're first really young pups and they're entering into the world before they grow that nice adult coat. And then once a year, every year, they'll usually go through a big molt as well. And that will be the same as when they're an adult. What kind of training do you have to do to become a trainer? To be a trainer at the Long Island Aquarium and pretty much most other facilities, you need to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree in the science-related field. So you can study any science out there that might interest you. Things like biology, chemistry, zoology, environmental, anything out there that gets you excited. And the biggest thing that we always use is actually psychology. All of what I'm doing is just animal psychology with all of our amazing animal ambassadors. And the best part of my job, which somebody also asked, is working with all of our animals. So I love being able to work with all of them. It's the brightest point of my day. It makes me so happy to get out there and see what they're doing, what they're thinking. They're pretty amazing. And the hardest part of my job is those times where we have to say goodbye. So sometimes our animals will move to another place where they'll meet new trainers and make new friends. And of course, it's always difficult, but we do get to go visit. And that's always a good time. Do sea lions have emotions? That's something that we don't know. So that's something that's heavily studied. So it's something that we're very curious about too in the field. So it would be interesting to find out, and we would very much enjoy knowing what the answer would be. Do the sea lions miss seeing a lot of people? Yes. So it definitely was a different experience for our sea lions, of course, with our staff and everyone out there going through COVID. For the sea lions, they were so used to seeing lots of guests, and it was definitely a big change for them to see no one except for us for a little bit. And I think that they seemed pretty excited when all of the guests returned. They had new friends to play with at their underwater window and all of those kind of things. And those are the things that they seem to really enjoy too, especially Lucy. Lucy loves when you play with her at that underwater window. Do they get lonely? Well, since there's 4 of them, I don't think they ever have a chance to be lonely. They're always hanging out together. So our 2 younger sea lions, Lucy and Neila, are constantly with Bunker or Java. So they're kind of hanging out with them at all times. Kind of think about having 2 little sisters. So they always want to see what everybody else is up to and what they're doing. Are the sea lions competitive against each other? They can be. So sometimes they can be for food or attention from us. So whenever we work with our sea lions, we always make sure that they have a specific trainer working with them. We don't want to have them feel like they're having to share that time or that food. How many sea lions does the Long Island Aquarium have? We have 4 California sea lions. So we have those 3 females and that single male. How much sleep does a sea lion need every day? I'm not sure. But I will tell you that our sea lions sleep usually about 7 to 8 hours. So our day would normally end at about 5 p.m. and they're typically still swimming. From time to time, they'll pop up and take a quick nap. And then they're always up and moving around by the time that we arrive to visit them at 7 o'clock in the morning. So they're always been up and active, and we've watched them on our cameras. So we know that they're only sleeping about 6 to 7 hours, but of course they're taking naps here and there too. Do sea lions mate for life? They do not. So they do not mate for life at all. Here's a very popular one too. Can sea lions get COVID? So that's something that we're also studying. Mystic Aquarium is actually leading some research on this, and we're trying to see if pinnipeds or fin-footed animals, so that's the family that sea lions and seals and all of those animals are found in. We're trying to see if they are susceptible at this time. Do sea lions fart? That is a good question and a funny one. And I'm laughing because they absolutely do. And that's something that our male sea lion Java is pretty well known for. They're pretty smelly as well, but he makes some pretty loud noises. And then I have one from Peter, who's 2, and he asked if sea lions like to play with toys. They sure do, Peter. They love playing with their toys. So some of our sea lions' favorite toys, they have these things called jolly balls. So they're big rubbery balls. They like to play with them. We also have some of our sea lions that are trained to play with a frisbee. So we can toss the frisbee back and forth with them, which is always fun. Hopefully not only for us, but also for them. And we have a bike tire that Java, our big male, is obsessed with. So it's just kind of the material from it. It's not anything else on it, because of course we want to make sure that all of his toys are safe for him to have. But he loves to take it and throw it up in the air and things like that. Lucy, our youngest, loves car wash strips, so she'll take them and she'll spin them around. We always joke that she's kind of like a ribbon dancer. So that's all of the preset questions. We're going to go ahead and find out what questions you guys might have for us during this Q&A.
So Amanda, Jillian, and Luke would like to know, how long do sea lions live?
Great question, guys. So sea lions inside a facility under human care can live to be into their early 30s, but out there in nature, they only live to be about 15 years old. And the reason why that is because sea lions in a human facility, they see their vet once a week, so they're getting excellent vet care. They also don't have to worry about any predators. They get a steady meal. So I mentioned during the show that Bunker was eating about 20 to 25 pounds. Java, our male, eats up to 50 pounds in a single day. So he definitely doesn't ever have to worry about missing a meal. And of course, there's no pollution or anything like that.
Robin would like to know, how long can a sea lion stay underwater?
Great question, Robin. So sea lions can hold their breath comfortably for about 10 minutes, but they are able to hold it a little bit longer. So they can go up to 25 minutes, but typically they'll only stick between that 8 and 10 minute range. It's just a little bit more comfortable for them, but you might see them do things like take quick cat naps, and then they'll pop up to the surface, and then they'll take another breath and go back down.
Sabrina would like to know, can sea lions do front or back flips?
Wow, great question, Sabrina. They definitely can. Bunker, who you were seeing, is trained to do a backflip. She is a very good athlete. So she's probably our most athletic sea lion. She always has a lot of energy, and she's really geared toward those kind of things. And we're currently working on it with another couple of our sea lions, but it is very difficult to train.
Gianna would like to know, do sea lions get presents for Christmas?
They do. So every year we usually will get them a couple things and we'll wrap them up. This year we actually had an Amazon wish list where our training staff were able to put a bunch of items that our animals would enjoy for toys. And many of our guests have been able to purchase those. And we've been able to give those right out to our animals who love having all of it.
Therese would like to know, what is Bunker's favorite fish?
Bunker's favorite fish. I feel like Bunker loves squid, I would say the most. And sometimes she gets a little silly with it and she'll like slurp it like spaghetti because she'll have the tentacles out. But she also is our biggest Jell-O fan too. So she definitely enjoys her Jell-O, but I would say after that would definitely be squid.
Are sea lions related to dogs?
Are sea lions related to dogs? They're not, but they have the same intelligence level as like a dog. So they're very smart. They're very capable of learning all kinds of different things, and they have a great sense of smell. So sometimes people will comment that our sea lions look like they're kissing each other, but all that is a breath exchange. So they're kind of trying to find out where each other has been and who each other is. So they're able to use that using their very, very good sense of smell, kind of like a dog. But they're actually just most closely related to like a bear. As for other animals that live in the water, other things that they're closely related to are the seals, walruses, and things like that.
Alex and Mikey and Aubrey would like to know, how long a day do sea lions spend in the water?
Most of their day. So, as I mentioned before, sea lions are mammals, so they breathe air just like we do. So they can actually stay out of the water indefinitely. They don't have to go into the water, but they love the water. That's definitely what they're built for. But as long as they were to be able to receive food, they don't necessarily have to go in the water. I would say on average, if our sea lions aren't sleeping, they're swimming. Most of the time. They're very rarely on land. When they are, they're just kind of like walking around and getting ready to go take a nap. Otherwise, they love to swim, and they do things that we like to call porpoising jumps. So just like how dolphins jump out of the water and they look very sleek, our sea lions like to do the same thing.
Jessica would like to know, where and when do the sea lions sleep?
Where and when? So we have a heated cave area. If you ever visit the habitat where our sea lions live, you'll see the area where our trainers first walk out from, and that's where their bedroom pretty much is. So they have access to that area all day long. So they can go in there if they decide that they want to take a nap or anything like that. They can comfortably go inside there and go to sleep. But typically, they'll only go to sleep at night. So usually what they'll do is they will gather together and go inside there. And that usually will happen after the end of our day. So normally after 5 p.m., they'll go and they'll start to sleep.
Okay, Lorraine would like to know, do sea lions eat their food or do they swallow their food whole?
Very smart, Lorraine. So you might have noticed that Bunker is actually swallowing all of her food whole. So sea lions just swallow their fish whole. They don't chew it like we do. They just use their teeth to grasp those slippery fish. So if any of those fish start to slide away, they can use their teeth to grab them. They don't use their teeth to chew or anything like that. But yeah, they're just kind of swallowing them.
Jeff would like to know, how difficult was it to train the sea lions to allow their teeth to be brushed?
Great question. So that's one that takes quite a while to train too. Sometimes things might seem a little scary to an animal because they've never seen it before, like a toothbrush. So if we do that, we'll first bring the object out. We'll let the sea lion investigate it. So they like to smell it, check it out, look it over, know that it's not going to do anything to them, and it's a pretty safe or benign object. Once they get comfortable with that, we'll open their mouths. We'll start to approximate bringing that toothbrush near their teeth before we'll even start to brush them. And it can take quite a while before we finish that behavior. So it takes a little bit of time, and we have to build up the pressure and the length of time that we're brushing their teeth. And we also train them to use toothpaste. So they have a specialized toothpaste called Nolvident, and it tastes a little bit minty.
Amanda would like to know, what is a sea lion's diet and how often do they eat?
Great question, Amanda. So right now our sea lions are eating capelin, herring, and squid. So we have a little bit different fish right now. We introduced some other types of herring to our sea lion. We have one now that's a Pacific herring as well as French herring. So they're getting a very diverse amount of food. But typically right now in a day, Bunker gets about a half a pound of herring and then about 3 pounds of capelin, another half a pound of squid, and another pound of French herring at each one of her feeds. And she eats that 3 times a day. So she's eating about 1.5 pounds of those cheeseburgers, about 9 pounds of that chicken, and about 1 pound of that squid, and then an extra 3 pounds of that French herring. So she's eating quite a lot. And that's what helps keep her weight. And we're constantly weighing her. So we want to weigh our sea lions right now during this season about once every 2 weeks. That way we can make sure that they're staying on track, they're gaining that healthy amount of weight, they're putting on those layers of blubber so that we know that they'll be comfortable during our winter.
Corey would like to know, do sea lions have sharp teeth and what do they hunt in the wild?
They do have sharp teeth. So their teeth are pretty much all canines, and they're all that conical shape, and they've got about 36 of them inside their mouths. Inside, sea lions in nature will eat a wide variety of fish. So they're called opportunistic feeders. So what they're going to do is, as they're swimming, anytime that they can get a chance to get that fish, they're going to take that chance. Because it can be pretty difficult to catch enough fish. So if you think about a male sea lion out there trying to catch 50 pounds of fish in a single day, can take quite a lot. So in nature, they would still eat those same types. They would ask all of those things like the capelin and the herring and things like that, as well as anything else that they could just get their fins on, if you will.
All right, Anita would like to know, how long do pups stay with the mother after birth?
Great question. So pups will stay on milk for about 9 to 11 months. At about 2 months, though, they'll start introducing some fish usually to their pups. So they'll have that fish diet as well. But they'll continue to nurse till they're about 11 months old. That's pretty much the latest you'll see before they start to wean and go to just a fish diet.
Aya and Jessica would like to know, how do sea lions get to the aquarium?
Good question. So Java and Bunker are originally from SeaWorld Orlando, and they came to join us when they were about 8 months to a year old, so they were pretty young. Then we have Neila. Neila is a 7-year-old California sea lion, and she's a rescue. So Neila is originally from the Santa Barbara region of California, and her story is pretty cool because she was a very young animal. So it was about 2014 when she stranded. And what was happening is that Neila wasn't able to get that fish that she relied on after she had just weaned from her mom. So usually they'll eat fish that go along our continental shelf. So they'll stay pretty close to our shorelines and stuff. So those fish were going too far out, and sea lions were stranding in record numbers. It was called a UME, or unusual mortality event. So all of these places chipped in over time. All of our rescue organizations got these animals nice and healthy. But Neila, unfortunately, lacked essential survival skills. So she needed a forever home. And she came to join us at the Long Island Aquarium. And how she arrived is pretty awesome. So I was very excited. I got to be a part of Neila's rescue story. And we actually flew back together on a FedEx cargo plane. And when we came on site, she has been with us ever since. So she got to fly here, which was pretty awesome. Lucy, our youngest sea lion, is also a rescue. She's originally from La Jolla, California. So she was rescued by SeaWorld San Diego, and we believe she might have been abandoned by her mom. Her mom was predated upon, and she was only about a month old when they stepped in to rescue her. So Lucy came to live with us, and she flew here as well, and then took the ferry the rest of the way over. So lots of different ways that they come to stay with us. And we are very excited to have all of our animal ambassadors. All right, everyone. I think this is going to conclude our question and answer portion of the event. I had so much fun. I hope all of you had a really great time, and I hope you guys are so excited to learn some more about sea lions that you're going to go look up some stuff on your own. And if you have any questions, you can always email or visit us at the Long Island Aquarium. I hope to see all of you soon. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Milana.
And that wraps up our activities. Again, I want to thank all of you for joining us and for all you've done to support Stony Brook Children's Hospital. Have a great night.